Ron Myers from West Coast Cast, and today we're going to bring you our very first podcast. And so I have one of my friends, Sean Walker, who's going to talk to us about 2026. And so we'll talk about things like COVID, how it's affected our time now, and just some of the weirdness of 2026, and maybe some of the hope and inspiration. At any rate, we're going to jump in about 20 minutes into our conversation, and we hope that you enjoy it. It's our very first podcast to you. Enjoy it. Please like, subscribe, share, and we're looking forward to having you as a brand new audience. Thank you.
You kind of watch, and I kind of, was watching it really closely. I was watching it when it was in China, and saw it starting to brew, and we'd actually had our nieces with us because my nephew, or my great nieces, their parents had gone to Hawaii. We were watching the girls, and they were in Hawaii, and there was this thing in me in my stomach. I told my wife, I said, they better get home because something's about to shift. It's only going to take one person, and they got home, and it was like 2 days later that the first case had turned up in Kirkland.
Wow.
And it was what was amazing.
COVID.
COVID. First case had turned up in Kirkland.
And it was here. We were the epicenter.
Right, it was here. It was here. And then all of a sudden, but it was so weird. And I was actually talking to my wife about this recently. Isn't it amazing? It was so weird that all of a sudden there was like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cases in Kirkland. And all of a sudden Italy is ablaze.
Yeah.
Like Italy just caught fire, like just out of nowhere. Like no, so that's the conspiratorial side of me a little bit. But so Italy's ablaze, world's ablaze, and we're being told it's the new normal. Remember that word kept coming around. It's the new normal. Better get used to it. Better get used to it. Better get used to it. And you had people predominantly out of a good, healthy fear of the unknown, telling people, listen, you better get on board. We don't know here. And then you've got people who are like, well, I'm not willing to just embrace it. And it was this battle. And I think that we'd always been in a differential, healthy place to have differences for the most part, right? Through the 40s, through the 50s, through the 60s. 60s started to get more vocal, but, still we didn't see, we saw some heat spots, but we didn't see anything like we had now. And it was almost like the gloves came off during COVID, and it was what changed. The new normal was the graciousness, or just this, ability to just agree to disagree,
right?
Even if it was intense, but it was not like the gloves are off and we're going to go to fists. It felt like something shifted, and just the animosity. If you were different, like now it's like not even if you have a different opinion, if you have a different thought, if you like, it just became the left and the right. It was like, we can't coexist anymore as neighbors. We can't even be friends.
It's so funny that you say that, because it was a cultural shift for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
And us and them. And, before 2019, 2020, and again, it was a New Year thing.
Right.
2020, people are like, I can't wait for 2020 to happen. 2019, it's such a bad year. And then 2020 happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
There's no 2020 vision here.
Right.
It's just a tough year.
Right.
And so that was really when the pandemic really started to sink in. And so I think people kind of lost their focus, but culturally it changed. And it's interesting because you can watch movies, you can watch television programs from things from before 2020 and after.
Yeah.
And it's a complete cultural
Totally
shift.
Yeah.
And I actually have a hard time watching movies that are 2019 and back.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's
just go straight to the 80s and you'll be okay.
Go straight to the 80s.
Just
go
skip
back to your happy place.
Skip to because I think it's interesting because we shifted culturally, but I think too we have a generation that actually grew up in that. Right, my daughter's 14, but she was 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade. So she kind of grew up in that own kind of version of trauma, right? I remember my daughter, because I was 50 when COVID happened, and my daughter gets off the bus and says, this is a few days before they closed the schools down. They told me that this is killing grandmas and grandpas that are over 50, and my daughter knows I'm 50. It's now also my daughter's, coming home from school thinking I'm going to die. Right. And what does that do? Like, who unloads that piece of information? And that was such a, but it just, it was teachers doing their best, right? They're trying to navigate this, and probably kids are talking But my daughter's thinking this. I'm like, sweetie, no, daddy's not going to die. And we walk back from the bus. But I'm thinking, for a child to have to deal with that,
Yeah.
it's just crazy.
Mortality.
And now it just seems like the handlebars or the handrails of culture have just gone to, I mean, we don't even start with AI. I mean, AI, now you're scrolling your feeds. You don't know what's real
I'm
anymore.
going to ask you about AI.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I love it, and I do it, but it's interesting to see what like there's a couple of AI programs that I was just telling somebody today. I said, like, there are some things, I mean, I'll just say it, Grok. If you're on Grok, get off. It's the worst. And I'm not even going to say why, okay? But there's
a ton of problems.
It has no guardrails. So there are things that can be done with it that just shouldn't be done. And so I'm like, the fact that someone would put something out like that and say, well, this is, it's America, we're going to leave it open. It's like, yeah, but you are being an irresponsible actor in this thing right now. And so Elon, come for me. I don't care. Because I think
I got to back up to something that my first experience with basically ChatGPT, my first real experience actually was with you. Okay. This was a couple of years ago. And you were giving us a business application of how ChatGPT is going to revolutionize everything, AI.
Yeah.
And we've been using AI for a long time.
Sure.
And I had a relative that worked for Boeing Aerospace, and he worked with AI, which was incredible at that time,
right,
in the mid-'80s.
Right.
And so it's been out there for a while.
Well, it's been out there in its mathematical model. Yeah. It's been in its data model.
Yeah.
This is now the first time, though, that we've experienced in the last couple of years where now it is a language model that has been given to the masses. So now it's where, when Obama said back in the day, learn to code. Everybody got all uppity about that. It's learn to code, right? Coding is still very much a significant part of our culture when it comes to building and software, but it is becoming less and less because now the new coding is what we now call prompting. Now everything is a prompt, but it is, if you want, I was talking to somebody today about they were having a hard time getting image creation. And I said, because you have to understand, we're experiencing AI in this kind of almost emotional sense. Right? It's like we're talking to it and it's talking back, but we have to remember it doesn't have emotions. So it's not going to pick up your vibe. It's not going to assume what you're thinking. It needs you to say exact words in this order still if you're looking to get a specific result. So there's still this mathematical component to this language model, but it is what's unnerving is eventually it's going to surpass that to where it is going to start beginning to assume. And it is going to start offering feedback that you was like, oh, okay, I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
Because all in the name of helping you create, right?
Do I want this?
Yeah.
Am I going to pay for it?
Yeah. It's getting interesting now because, I mean, there are people, bless their heart, it's my own fault, who are like, man, Sean, I cannot believe you went skydiving. Yeah. And it's because I created a quick video in 35 seconds.
I absolutely love that. So
of me skydiving and surfing and
skydiving
jumping
and
sharks.
Surfing, AI models, it's absolutely fantastic. And I mean, you can really do anything. You can put yourself anywhere. But so for me,
I'm a great drummer when it comes to AI.
You're a great drummer.
I'm an amazing
that was
drummer
fantastic,
on it.
man. What a set that was. But a couple of years ago, you gave us a graphic model of ChatGPT.
Sure.
And so, again, we were at the change of the year, a new year. And so now it's time to do donation letters and thank you letters, for congregations and businesses, et cetera.
Yeah.
And in 2 seconds, you gave it its parameters. It spit out a letter for a thank you letter for donations. Yeah. And it was absolutely letter perfect.
Empathetic. Grammatically, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow,
yeah.
That's a game changer. And that was my first real look at the use of ChatGPT.
For sure.
And how it can be used. And I think all of us were stunned at that point when we saw, wow, this is going to change everything.
Yeah.
And so you can now see it in schools.
Yeah.
And a lot of people believe that AI is the devil. It's like, I've sold my soul. I've used ChatGPT.
Right.
But we've been using it a long time.
Right.
We're just now looking at commercial models for it. And the opportunity to use it for good is out there too.
Sure.
But that probably the specter of, how can how can this be used for bad things?
Right.
I'm sure it's already being used for that. We're just not really aware of
Sure.
the commercial opportunities for us.
Oh, it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah.
And I said a long time ago that if I had a Chat GPT model for finances, I'd be using it to predict my stock.
Yeah.
You know, and different other things.
I did.
I'm sure there are people that do that.
I did. I actually have got a 400% gain on one stock that I got through Chat.
Yeah.
And I did it for fun.
Yeah.
Grabbed, a couple $100. I asked Chat, put my parameters in, and I'm actually still holding that stock because it's still growing. But it was like, hey, put it in here. And I've done a couple of cryptocurrencies. Same thing. Looking for some cryptocurrencies that are going to spike, and I mean, you win some, you lose some, right? I mean, again, it's just using an algorithm. It's a predictive algorithm to the, whims of the information that it can gain. Because again, it's not speculative. It's all data. It's all, this is what I know. But yeah, it's AI is going, I mean, AI is here. It's not going anywhere. We know that. AI in the tools of a bad man is going to be the same thing as a knife or a gun in the tools of in the hands of a bad man.
That's
and
true.
so
true.
it's
It can be a tool. It's neutral.
It can be absolutely good. Yeah. I mean, the advances that are happening in the medical field right now because of the ability of AI and to be able to create models and whatnot. I don't know if you're much of a Tron fan, but I'm an 80s kid, so Tron was a big deal. So the first Tron, if you look at the first Tron, it's literally like foam suits, Jeff Bridges in his early days, and black lights, and that's
lights and spandex.
Yeah, that's how we got this weird. It was just weird. And now you look at the new Tron Ares, but one of the interesting thing about the movie is they're utilizing 3D printing to create AI life forms, and you would 10 years ago you would have thought, oh, that's just crazy, like that'll never happen. I'm convinced in the next 15 years, maybe 5 years, that we're going to be able to start 3D printing things down to their circuitry. So literally, like 5 minutes after this thing has been printed, it's now functional. And that nothing surprises me anymore. But because of the rapid advancement of technology and AI, and I mean, it's just everyone is in a race. It was when ChatGPT came out a couple of years ago. ChatGPT was like the thing, and there was maybe a couple other language model programs out there. The Perplexities of the world and the Claudes, and how people are utilizing it for business. But today, my daughter, and so what I'm saying is so now every single day somebody's coming out with something new. I mean, every day somebody's got a better, newer version of what's been going on. My daughter, she has to memorize Psalms 139 verses 1 through 18. And she said to me, Dad, would you create me a song out of those scriptures so that I could memorize them? And I remember how we used to do it. We'd get the old recorder out, or in newer days, get our phones out and be like, hey, da, 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 da. Well, not today. Today, in like 16 seconds, I put in the scriptures, and then, here, this will change your life here. So
I'm ready for life
I put in the scripture.
Lord, you know everything there is to know about me. You perceive every movement of my heart and soul, and you understand my every thought before it.
Okay, that's not
music and entertainment too, guys.
I didn't do that. That was created in 30 seconds off of the lyric and the parameters of it. It came up with an entire song, music backgrounds, whole 9 yards, did all the words, and I created a song, verbatim scripture, so that she could inside of 30 seconds. That's the world we live in now.
It is such a different world, and it's funny when we look at next year. What's next year going to be like?
Oh gosh.
For me, man, you're the start of my
We're gonna fly.
Chat GPT. That's
right.
it. We're gonna fly with AI.
Well, we'll see if in 5 years you thank me. But yeah,
Wow.
no, it's I think if I maybe circling back to what we started with at the beginning, that's why where we have to remain, to I guess take a hard left turn here, where we have to remain is in that deep place of God's presence, because technology is going to go on. The world is going to go on. And where I believe the apostolic church, right? One of the things that I always tell people, who are wanting to say, we're going to start a church or plant a church or do a movement or something like that. The apostolic is not a Christian term. That's an adapted term that we took from Romans. Romans are the original apostles. There was the general apostle. And what the general apostle's job was, right, is Roman didn't want war. They didn't want blood. They wanted to conquer. They prefer the non-bloody route. So the way that the general apostles would do it was they would strategize. How do you take over art? How do you take over philosophy? How do you take over entertainment? How do you take over politics and law? How do you take over the pillars, as Lance Wallnau might say? How do you take over these pillars and begin to influence them and affect them? Okay. And if a general apostle could come up with a strategy to begin to influence in a way that all of a sudden it just turned to Rome and it turned to win in Rome, right? But you were another city, that was a success to them. So that apostolic position was an apostolic influence position. And I think one of the things that the great blessing that we have is those who have Holy Spirit and have the spirit of wisdom is, okay, how do we not reject what is coming, but how do we become the influencers? How do we become the ones that are on the cutting edge? How do we use AI technology to start helping make people's lives better? How do we use AI to help people start drawing closer to the Lord? So I just think there is an opportunity because the world is in I would say right now, emotionally, technologically, and financially, and a bunch of other leads, the world is we're in a primordial ooze. We are there's nothing other than, there's nothing physically that we're looking at or experiencing that is concrete, that you can stand on, that is immovable, other than Jesus. You could in the 80s, I think, kind of look around and you felt a sense of stability amongst your community, amongst your friends, just everything wasn't so vital, and technology was changing, but it was, Steve Jobs was, coming out with the trash 80s and the Apple book, we started to see the shift, but it didn't scare us.
Yeah.
It was like, ooh, this could be cool. So there wasn't this sense of instability and fear when doing it. Now it's like the next thing comes out and it's like, gosh, is this going to hurt me?
It's interesting as we become more technological. And I mean, we used AI to start this podcast. I used AI to come up with some nice pithy questions.
Right.
And we're going to use AI to basically enhance the final production of
Good.
this.
I'm going to get... Am I going to be skinnier? I'm going to be
Yeah,
skinnier.
you're going to be slimmer.
I'm going to be skinnier.
And you're already good looking, so
right.
hey.
I'm going to be 195.
Man. But there are some positive things about AI.
Yeah.
And at the same time, everybody that I see in podcasting today, whether that's Rogan or Tucker Carlson or anybody that's out there today, not only they're talking about technology, but they're also talking about the spiritual age.
Sure.
I feel like we're going into a spiritual age as we see all the technology. Man, there's a lot of different things that are happening globally. Yeah. And I would say both on the good side,
right,
and also on the negative side. And, maybe you can talk about maybe some of the fears that you have heard. Yeah. People looking at 2026. Right. And then we'll get to the happy spot.
Well, I think one of the things that is really interesting is because if I could say it this way, one of the beautiful things that AI has exposed is that deep down we have a built-in desire for the authentic. And so as impressed as we are in the moment, and I was talking to a friend of mine who said, I think there's going to be a revival in authenticity. I think there could be a small backlash, and there is. Let me put it this way. I played that song, so now, an 8-year-old kid can go in his bedroom and produce a dope song, and it's just really, really great, and it's got this wicked guitar solo, and it can go to and everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's such a great song. And But eventually that will then, the market will become flooded with all this automated, this was just, there's no reality to it.
Saturation
And what it does is everyone gets afraid, like, oh my gosh, this is going to take over. We have to remember though, we are Christ created. Okay. We're meant to touch. We are built, in our
We're
DNA.
a touchy-feely
yes,
kind of program.
our DNA is connection. Our Father is a connector, right? That there's something about being real and being authentic that is not just ingrained in what we want, but it's also ingrained in us to be like, that's what I want. Like, I want to wake up and be my true self. I don't want to be a version of somebody else. So this AI version that everybody can do this, and the revolt I thought was coming from, or I think is coming from, like, somebody got this amazing guitar solo on there. But one of the best things about a guitar solo, right, is not just the solo itself. The best thing about the guitar solo is the sweat and the years that went into that. What Eddie Van Halen had to overcome, or what Steve Vai had to overcome, or B.B. King, what they had to overcome in learning how to play this completely intricate, like, pentatonic scale, what that's part of when you're watching it or you're seeing someone playing it or you're hearing it on guitar. If you've ever listened to, I'm probably dating myself, but if you've ever listened to Eruption is one of the most profound guitar solos in the whole wide world. He knows, it's
That's
an amazing
Miracle Mike in the background. Thank you, Lofty.
It's an amazing guitar solo. One of the most profound things is it's innovative, and he did it. Like, he's innovating all this stuff. There's a part of us that we're built to appreciate struggle. We're built to appreciate overcome. We're built to appreciate the weather of life and to feel the wind and to feel the rain. Like, that's how we're wired. And so I think there will be a little bit of a backlash at some point to say, yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you could build that, but look what that guy's doing. I mean, he's actually doing it. He's actually getting, and so I think
there's stuff that's yet to be created that AI is going to do.
Oh, for sure.
People are going to do with AI.
Yeah, it's going to be limitless, right?
Yeah.
At some point, but that's one of the things one of the things about how beautifully we are made is once something kind of becomes artificial, it loses a little bit of its joy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, let's just be weird for a second. Somebody might be like, whoa, I've got an AI girlfriend who doesn't argue with me or whatever. She sits there and just says, how was your day?
It's a thing of cinema.
Right. It's already, and people are already talking about it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You're not wired for that. Right. You're not wired for a one-way conversation where everything, you're wired for the battle of wooing your wife.
Yeah.
Right. You're wired for the genuine connection.
There's a biological component.
Right. That it's coming from a real place.
Yeah.
That this value that your wife or your daughter, they're pouring into you, and that this isn't an algorithm that found the optimal time to tell you, hey, you're amazing, but it's an actual experience that you're encountering. That's how the Father has wired us. We are wired for authenticity. And so I think even in, not to leapfrog us into another category, but I think that's one of the things even in the church that we are experiencing right now is some of the...
I can hear your youth pastor come out because
right.
That's one of the things that we learn in both education and youth ministry. It's the one thing that you've got to be is authentic. You've got to be real.
Yeah.
You can't fake the funk. So
yeah,
it's got to be real.
We are looking for... We're designed for authenticity, but part of that design for authenticity comes from our desire to be authentic.
Right.
To be seen.
Be your authentic self.
For who we are and loved for who we are and known for who we are. That's what I was saying is I think the challenge right now is, the deconstruction thing, that's been going on for the last several years, but now it's kind of catching a little bit more fire. To some, my response is, yeah, you should absolutely deconstruct everything about what you believe about the Father, because it's all garbage. You believe that he only loves you when you do good. So all of that needs to be. So I'm not a pro deconstructionist.
Yeah. I think every believer has to come to that point. Every follower of Christ, you got to come to the point when you have to examine what you believe and why you believe.
And why,
it. Yeah, and deconstruct it and go, okay, Let's go to authentic.
Yeah, and I
Let's go
think,
to what's real.
and you know who gets afraid of that? Us leaders.
Yeah,
we get
absolutely.
because we I was telling someone today, I said, because they're kind of deconstructing a little bit right now. They're going through a little bit of a hard time. It's a little bit of a challenge, and I said, it's great though. I said, he's doing it healthy. He's got people around him, and yeah, I 2025, I went through a pretty hard time there coming out of 2025.
Absolutely.
And it was because of some thought processes that I had about God and what I believed that I realized 30 years old stuff was influencing it. And God was like, hey, your body can't contain this anymore. We gotta clean this up. We gotta fix this. And it's been amazing. And I keep telling people all the time, I'm not in a real hurry to like be like, oof, I'm back. I kind of just like this journey of like, okay, keeping my hands open. Control is an illusion. Keep my hands open. But I was talking to my friend, and I just said, listen, bro, do it. Just go through this journey. You're going through it in a healthy way. I said, when people tend to start going through journeys and maybe faith crises and whatnot, we tend to, as leaders, partially out of empathy, like, man, we don't want to see you go through this. But the other part is it's like when people start to think differently, and maybe in our own congregations start to think differently or things that we don't think, we get scared.
We don't all think alike.
Yeah, we get scared, and it's like,
Yeah.
and some people, like, there are just some, and I guess it's not
It's funny because in church, a lot of times people think, well, it's a hive mentality, but
Right.
it's not at all. People are quite independent.
They're
and,
quite-
you
they're-
find conflict in that as well.
Well, and it's like, okay, is this a healthy place for me to disagree? Or is it like, do we all need to get in line?
Yeah.
We all need to do the exact same thing, and hell becomes this incredibly useful tool because you've preached a 30-minute message on how God loves you.
Y'all going
But
to hell.
if you don't come up to this altar call that I'm about to do here, this God that loved you is now going to burn you forever, and you're going to fry in your own fat, and you're like,
Mike, I know you're loving that, man.
You
I can't believe the grin that's going on in the background.
Well, it's just true,
Because
right?
it's like a turn or burn,
We've invited people into an
Yeah.
intimate relationship with a schizophrenic psychopath, who's like, he loves you, but now he's going to get you. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, wait.
Get him, God.
Tell me what relationship that's healthy
Yeah.
starts off with, a gun to your head.
Wait till your father gets home.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, because it's like, we invite him to the altar, we hand out asbestos suits, like, hey, congratulations, you
Yeah.
made it. You're not going to fry now. And
Mike,
but
do you call those the flamethrowers? Is that it? Miracle Mike?
Fire breathers,
Oh,
yes.
man.
You could take it. Perfect example.
We've
Perfect
really
example.
gone all over the place.
No, we have no. You literally are. This is a podcast that is actually the map
Yeah.
of Sean's mind. I mean, this is
Wow.
what mild ADD will get you. But
Wow,
it is.
this is cool.
But if you look right now, the big hurrah, a couple of weeks ago was Kirk Cameron. Kirk Cameron
I'm going to
dared.
ask you about politics next and,
Yeah.
and what you see in politics and really kind of where we're going as a culture,
Yeah.
as a globe. Really.
Sure. Well, okay. Let me hit the Kirk Cameron thing
Sure.
first, though, because this is hugely important. This is earth shattering to me. Kirk
I
Cameron.
love that. Oh, yeah,
Kirk
go
Cameron.
ahead.
If you remember, Family Ties.
Yeah.
Right. Kirk Cameron. Left Behind. All the Left Behind movies, 1, 2, and 3. Left Behind or more Left Behind or whatever you want to call it. It was him on his podcast with his son that he all of a sudden dared question eternal conscious torment.
Wow.
And he started to
We'll have to unpack this a little bit.
Yeah,
because
eternal conscious
Not
ETC.
everybody's
Yeah.
familiar with the
ETC.
concept.
So eternal conscious torment is kind of what the standard, although theologically, if you were to kind of mathematically break down scriptures between the big three, right, which would be eternal conscious torment, annihilism, or ultimate reconciliation.
Yeah.
Eternal conscious torment, ETC, is you're frying in your own fat. You're
Yeah.
like you showed up, God looked at you, went, and you're in the lake of fire,
Wow.
and you burn there forever, cause
Permanent torture.
no one came and told you. Okay, I know some people are freaking out right now. They just turned to you. Stay with me. So Kirk Cameron dares to have a conversation with his son about annihilism. And annihilism is basically still kind of the separation mentality, which I don't necessarily subscribe to. But it's annihilism is, here's the judgment of God, that you have been judged. You don't have life in eternity. But because God is compassionate, he's not a going to fry you in your own fat forever.
Yeah.
You just cease to
I
exist.
wouldn't say he's speaking from Revelation chapter 20.
He's
19, 20. And
yeah, I mean,
really goes into
but
final
then
dispensation.
right, but then we get into these weird, kind of odd interpretations of Daniel and these
Yeah.
odd interpretations of Gehenna and the garbage
Yeah.
dumps at you, right? Like you understand Gehenna.
I've actually been.
You've been to
where
Gehenna,
yeah,
right?
right
so,
in Israel.
So
right in
how
the
do you?
valley.
So I'm just saying, you have to do quite a stretch to have
I talked about Jesus never joking about hell, and when he talked to the disciples
Right.
about hell, they actually went to, first you have the Temple of Pan, that's at the headwaters of the Jordan,
Right.
And he's like, the gates of hell shall not prevail against my kingdom,
Right.
And it's like, oh, they get the illustration,
Right.
Because it's hell. It looks like hell, smells like hell,
Right.
Human sacrifice, and then you also have Gehenna, which is a valley of burning, and I mean,
It's a garbage
they were-
dump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They were literal, not figurative. They were literal places
Right.
that were burning hell.
Right.
And I'm going to say that was Jesus' description.
right. That was his description, and so
I'm glad there was no lake of fire.
So people
you know?
have a hard time trying to understand or how to superimpose eternity
Yeah.
into modern day Gehenna and what Jesus is trying to say. So anyway, he dare venture the question that possibly annihilism is not only more biblical but almost more Christ-like. Now there are some that will make the argument that ultimate reconciliation is I think it's Paul Young who says Paul Young said there can be nothing more like the fires of hell than being in the presence of the one who loves you when you absolutely don't want to be there.
Wow.
And I was like, whew, and so I'm not trying to make a case for any one of those. What I'm trying to say is that it was really interesting for me to watch someone
challenge the norm.
He challenged the norm, and the church went nuts.
Yeah.
Now, what I did
You'll have
like,
to Google if you want to see
yeah,
the
Google
full-
it. It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
But what I did appreciate was I appreciate some of the church leaders who came out, and they came out graciously because one,
Yeah.
it's Kirk Cameron, it's the golden
Yeah.
child, don't mess with him. But two, it was like, listen, I don't know if I agree with what Kirk Cameron is saying, but I'm okay with his desire to kind of run this down. And for me, as a kind of I'm a unifier. I'm a bridge builder. That's what I love to do. I like to bring people together. I'm a networker. That was so inspiring to me. That was so inspiring to me to say, okay, maybe I don't agree, because I don't even know if I agree with him. But I was so grateful that there was some voices in the church community and in the kingdom at large that went, listen, we're not cutting him off now. We're just, okay, let him have his journey. I mean, there's some profound theologians that I know that are dear friends of mine that are
People debate it back and forth.
that are all
in half
different.
a
Yeah,
century.
seriously,
Yeah.
that are
Absolutely.
although it is interesting, I am seeing people.
There are some people that are entering this conversation.
They're straying away from
2026
ETC. Yeah,
that are wondering if
yeah.
we've entered the lake of fire.
They're kind of. I think eternal conscious torment is somewhat turned into a little bit of a useful tool, right? It's become a scare tactic for some, and they're like, okay, well, I don't want to be invited to this Jesus scared anymore. I want to be invited to a relationship.
I thought about how different that is from, say, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. How
Right.
different a conversation that really
Right.
is.
Right.
To Kurt Cameron,
Right.
here we are in 2025.
Yeah.
And some of the backlash that he got, and
Right.
actually some of the praise too, because
Right.
it was both.
Well, Brian Zahn wrote that book, "Sinners in the Hand of a Loving God," as kind of a rebuke
Wow.
to the entire
Jonathan, Edwards,
to Jonathan
yeah.
Edwards, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Wow, you're rebuking Jonathan Edwards. Good,
Wow.
good on you." So
It's been a while. That's
Yeah.
quite a span of time.
yeah. So what was your original question again? No,
So,
it's the time we refer to the paper.
yeah, there's a lot of, I want to say, fear and trepidation as we enter into 2026.
Yeah.
And I think the fear of the unknown is it's one of those big factors, but I think there's a lot of expectation too. And so kind of I wanted to just kind of ask you about how do you see maybe the world politically, maybe financially? How do you see, what's ahead? Looking at 2025,
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of political upheaval.
Yeah.
I just came from the Middle East.
Yeah.
And I was in Israel, the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip.
Yeah.
I would say basically the Gaza envelope.
Yeah.
A week after the ceasefire.
Right.
And
right.
so,
Wow.
you know, trauma, we're going to talk about that
Yeah.
basically in a future podcast. But the trauma, the fear, you know, and people just running from it, you know, any kind of change. But I mean, there's optimism too.
Totally.
I mean, there's some great things that are going to happen.
Totally.
But I think as people look at 2026, the fear of the unknown, I mean, here we are at the edge of it.
Yeah.
You know, what's it going to be like? And so I'm going to ask you not
Yeah.
to spin your crystal ball, but,
I don't,
you know,
I
to
don't own
really,
one.
you know, what's your synopsis
I
basically
think-
of maybe our world politically? What do you see?
Yeah, this is
This
so,
has been a
as a
wild
tiny
week.
ant standing under a boot. I won't even pretend, because you just don't even know what the next morning will bring these days. What I can say from an observation standpoint is the world is tectonically shifting. And what I mean by that is things that veils are starting to fall. We used to believe
The world is not linear today.
it's not, no, I mean,
you don't know what tomorrow's going to be. It's like watching basically a ball game in the 90s,
Right.
or a basketball game. If you don't watch the last 30 seconds, you
Right.
miss the whole game.
well, I think it was interesting when we went back to remember the debate between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, and they asked, you know, what was the largest threat, and I believe Barack Obama said, I believe it was China or Russia or China or something like that, and Mitt Romney said Russia, and the quip was, well, the 1980s called, they want their policies back.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be absolutely true.
Yeah.
They became this massive threat within years. Part of that, we're starting to see veils fall down, you know, this big fear that we had of China. And China can still very much have an impact on our economy, but they would do it from more of a ceasing posture than more of a threat posture. They are economically not what we thought. Their entire economic
It's really built on
it's
export.
it's on a thread, and it's dancing on a thread. That's why you don't see, they don't saber rattle as much. You see countries, you know, kind of as technology is increasing, we used to be able to, like, man, who are they behind the veil? Well, technology is bringing the veil down, you know, one video at a time. So people aren't able to hide, and so we're starting to actually see things for what they really are. So you're seeing what's going on in Iran right now.
I was going to ask you about
you're
Iran
you're seeing in real time.
right now we're seeing a big shift in Iran, and
Right.
I have a lot of friends who are believers
Right.
from Iran,
Right.
and they're here,
Right.
and many of them come through Turkey or through Jordan or through other
Right.
places, which we wouldn't see as being friendly,
Right.
but they've been places where they've been able to go, and we're seeing a huge
Yeah.
shift.
Well, but think about 20 years
Iran and
ago.
throughout the Middle East.
20 years ago, if an uprising like that would have happened, it would have been silently squashed, and the world would have never known.
Right.
But now those kind of uprisings have more power because it's out there, and
It's
they're
funny
not.
they've tried to squelch the technology.
And so they're because they know
internet
now
blackouts.
if they try to do something, and they try to do something on a mass humanitarian scale, you have the entire world pointing at you and coming after you. And now we've proven that we do that now. You know, and so, you know, and that's the other thing. I mean, right now, kind of even what's taking place in Venezuela, whatever you agree or disagree or whatever. And it's interesting. I've watched people on the left or the right all of a sudden find unity under culture. You know, you saw The View. I forget the lady's name on The View, but she's supportive of Venezuela. She's, you know, very much left. The majority of the left is not a fan of what happened, but she is, because she's Venezuelan. So it's funny because everyone kind of has their own opinion that comes from their own kind of like how it affects
Their
me and
own
how it impacts
worldview,
me directly.
their own
And so it's really, really interesting because it seems like there's just no way to put your thumb on, like, is anything going to stay still long enough for me to even get a bead on it because everything's moving so fast. So to your question, like, what do we see the world coming forward? Part of me is I don't know what's going to happen. So my focus for myself and my family and my community is focus on what you know doesn't move, and Jesus doesn't move.
Wow.
Holy
That's good.
Spirit doesn't move, and that's the only thing
Super
that you
positive.
can lock onto, because everything else right now, just as you're going to put your thumb on it, it's gone and it's moved over to somewhere else. And so when I say the world is moving at a tectonic rate, it's literally feels like the borders of our geopolitical world and geosocial world are just moving. The borders are moving. And so that's the beauty of the kingdom, is the borders don't move.
Through this whole thing, you can see the kingdom rise. I can't believe all the shifts that we see, both globally, financially, just around the globe. Things that people thought were steadfast and rock solid. Yeah. They're changing left and right, and I see a lot of walls breaking down for the gospel. And I've been in two places recently, Nigeria. Most martyrdom in Christianity. Yeah. And we're building hospitals there. Yeah. And just, watching what God is doing there just in Nigeria. But it's not just there, it's across Africa. Yeah. So huge moves of God. Yeah. And talk about apostolic power.
Come on. Yeah. Come on. I love that.
I think the world is shifting.
No, the world's shifting, and I think
it's easy to draw on the negative.
Do you feel like they're becoming more like, because I don't travel much. Do you feel like the places that you go, there's always a way to, you go into somewhere and say, well, there's an openness to the gospel. There's an openness to kingdom thinking. Do you feel like that is increasing? Is that leveling up? Is it the same? Is there more of a resistance?
It's funny because I practice a dialogue called shared narrative, and I mostly work in the Abrahamic faiths. Okay. And so it's with a Christian world viewpoint, it's amazing how both Judaism and Islam, they were kind of a bridge to both of those communities. We all draw our roots from Judaism in some way. Right. But it's amazing to be a bridge. And I think we have a dialogue of peace, a dialogue of hope that I think the other needs. Yeah. And so we need each other. Yeah, come on. And it's about the kingdom. We have a piece of the kingdom that I don't think anybody else has, and that's that well-being, shalom peace, peace from trauma, peace from war, and to treat each other like human beings. That's kind of my goal in this 2026, but it's been that way for a while. I've been doing the peace journey now, and just traveling for peace for almost the last 8 years. Wow. And I've seen a lot of the world, and last year I saw a few places. But I'm hopeful. Yeah. And I know that Christ is behind the dialogue. Yeah. That he's a global leader. Yeah. And we don't perceive that. There are other global leaders that are out there, and they're doing their stuff. Right. But Jesus is a global leader, and he's on his way.
Come on. Come on. Yeah. Unless you're Kirk Cameron.
Yeah. Of course.
Man. No, hey, I'd listen to you with a voice like that. So. Yeah.
You have been absolutely phenomenal. You're such an amazing first guest, and I knew you would be.
Thank you.
And this is not a new venue for you.
No, I enjoy this space, but no, I'm honored. It was fun to be on. Man, I feel like we went everywhere. That was like an hour. Was that an hour?
We went to hell and back.
We went to hell and back, and to Iran and back, and China and back, and no, it's good. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. 2026 is an amazing year. Yeah. There's a lot, that we can do, pray about, and grow in. But I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen.
It's going to be an adventure.
How we can change it. That's right.
It's going to be an adventure. But like what you said, I think you said it really, really well. What we have is peace.
What we have is peace.
So the one immovable, right, is a rock, and we have a rock that he knew. I think Bill Johnson says it really, really well. You can survive any storm that you can sleep through. And he's, referencing, Christ on the boat. He's asleep. The disciples are like, ah! And he wakes up and he's like, oh, what, guys? What? Because he's not shaken. Because he's the one that speaks hushed calms to the storms. And maybe there's times that the storms will calm, or there's times that the storms are going to rage, but we have the peace that's like, no, I'm good, Because even if for some reason this boat capsizes, I know where I am. I know where I am tomorrow, and I know where I wake up. I wake up in eternity. And my dad says it really, really well. He doesn't even call it waking up. He goes, I plan on going to heaven with my eyes open. You know,
Wide awake.
wide awake,
Going all
passing
the
from
way
one
in.
place to
I'm
the
all
next,
in.
and so yeah, that's what we can hold on to, and so yeah.
Sean, you've been an amazing guest. If you like what you've heard today, like, subscribe, smash the button.
All the good things.
All the good things.
All the good things.
Do it, be there, live it. And Sean, you have just been absolutely amazing.
Thank
I knew
you.
you would be, man.
It was a blast.
We're going to do some more stuff.
Come on.
Yeah.
I'll have you on my podcast.
Yeah,
we'll swap.
all right.
We'll
swap.
we'll
I'll be in the hot seat.
Yeah. I'll ask. We didn't even get to your paper, did we?
No, not
Sorry.
really. No, that's good.
Cheers.
Miracle Mike, we'll hear more from him. Mike, you've been amazing. Thank you, brother. And thank you. That's us. Our first podcast. It's in the box. And we'll see you out there. Thank you, and God bless.